What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's your boy Ernie, the Blerd Without Fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, so today's video, we're going to be talking about the most recent issue of Avengers number 30, maybe even a little bit of 29, because there were some major reveals that came out, and largely, this is the reason why I think that Marvel writer Jed MacKay goes for deep cuts, because we get a couple of reveals in both Avengers number 29 and in Avengers number 30 regarding the major mystery about the missing moment and what that means for the identity of the new Avengers villain, Murden. A mystery that has been running about 2 years. We finally get an answer to it, and I honestly think everyone is going to have about roughly the same reaction. And it's probably not going to be a good one. Or at the very least, it'll be an ambivalent one, which is what I had.
Word to wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Okay, so when we pick up with Avengers number 29, one of the things that has been happening lately, if you've not been keeping up with the series, is Murden, who was introduced at the ass end of 2022's Timeless one-shot, which is, if you're not familiar, that is a thing that Marvel has been doing lately, at least the past 2 or 3 years, though admittedly, this past year, they actually opted to do Time Slide instead. But prior to that, we had gotten Timeless one-shots that basically set up everything that was going to be happening in the Marvel Universe for the following year to come. You know, just get you hype. And one of the things that was introduced in the 2022-2023 range, like right as we were turning in on 2023, was a new villain named Murden. Someone who you're probably thinking, wait a minute, Murden? It's supposed to be a play on Merlin. Yeah, there's a whole thing. This is new character who shows up who completely vexes Kang the Conqueror at every single turn, and that particular edition of Time Slide was setting up Kang the Conqueror to have a run-in with the Avengers. Now, bear in mind, all of this was being done around a time where Kang was going to be at the height of his popularity, roughly around the time of Ant-Man and Quantumania, and the promise that Kang was going to be the major big bad of the MCU. This was kind of like a little bit of brand synergy going on here that ultimately wound up kind of just not really mattering because of the whole Jonathan Majors debacle, which I am not going to relitigate here. Go watch an episode of Nerds of Culture with Jonathan Majors' face on it. You'll probably get my feelings on the matter. Anyway, with this, Kang was being set up as potentially, I won't say making a face turn, but definitely not being the big bad to the Avengers more than anything else. Well, as it turns out, with the whole Murden, not Merlin thing, he even had his King's Court, his Knights of the Round Table, with characters that were very similarly named. Like, they all had names that kind of played off of different people that were involved in the Knights of the Round and King Arthur's court and all of that business. Well, one of the things I said back when all this was going on, I mused that this is very likely not a new character. I mean, yeah, a new character, but not a face we haven't seen before.
You know what? I'm about to say it.
Say it.
Murden is just Kang. He is just a variant of Kang the Conqueror. That is who he is. And honestly, I would love to sit here and pull out my smoker's jacket and my corncob pipe and sit here and puff on it and be like, I told you. I mean, here's the thing. It was obvious. I think it was obvious to anyone with eyes to see. Who can piss off Kang more than anyone else? Like, the only person who really gets under Kang's skin, probably worse than most people, is Dr. Doom. And the only person who can outdo Dr. Doom in that regard would be another Kang. And it's a Kang who's trying to do something that Kang has yet to be able to do. And that's find the missing moment. What is the missing moment, you want to ask? That is something that gets revealed in Avengers number 29. We are introduced to this missing moment at the beginning of this whole storyline in Timeless, and it all bleeds over into the Avengers, the tribulation events that the Avengers had to go through in an effort to find the missing moment, which, mind you, is a moment of time that only a hero can access. A villain cannot access it. So it kind of led to this whole, oh, well, what is this MacGuffin? What is it ultimately going to wind up being? Is it going to be, some random thing from Marvel past? Is it going to be a new character? Is it going to be a new place, a new time? What is the missing moment that Kang is so desperately after, that Murden also is desperately after? Well, as it turns out, it's revealed it's tied to Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars, and more specifically, the finale and the aftermath of Secret Wars, where in the wake of undoing all the craziness and chicanery that Doctor Doom had committed over the course of that major line-wide story arc, one of the things that came out of it and kind of played into why the Fantastic Four weren't around, the in-universe story for why they weren't around, is that they were recreating the multiverse. Well, one of the things that got put back into the multiverse at large was the missing moment, and that missing moment is just hope. Striving for perfection in a world where perfection doesn't exist. That's what the missing moment is. More or less. That's me breaking it down into to its most basic, most barest terms. But yeah, that was the missing moment. The one thing that, once again, a villain can't hope to attain that because they never want better for the world that they live in. They only want better for themselves. This was something that, and Reed even kind of says it in Avengers number 29, that the multiverse wasn't recreated by celestials or elder gods or beings of a higher order. The multiverse was recreated by a person. And when you have a person who is creating something, there's always going to be a flaw within that. And that's what the missing moment is. It's a flaw. Now, when you get into the whole why a hero can't obtain it and yet somehow Murden is able to get his hands on it, that's another story altogether, and honestly, I'm not really buying what's being sold here. It just kind of seems like it was just a fancy way to kind of dance around why Kang couldn't get it and Murden couldn't get it, and I'm sure it'll all be touched upon and addressed at a later date, and I think it even is to a lesser extent in these issues, but none of it's really passing the smell test for me personally. The truth of the matter is that because the missing moment is considered a flaw, it is something that, well, yes, technically, a villain likely would not be able to get it because, once again, it's technically hope for a new horizon, striving for, reaching that next boundary, reaching that new frontier and hope for the future. All of that, a villain's not going to look for it. But the reason why the flaw is so important is because Murden can use it to undo everything. And it's something that's kind of come up recently. If you go over to where I've talked about the Storm series, in the Storm series, one of the things that has been talked about is the fact that there is a new villain on the horizon called Hadad, who is trying to destroy the cosmos, the current iteration of the Marvel Comics universe. Right now, currently, we are in the 8th cosmos after the events of Secret Wars in 2015. That, the previous cosmos, the 7th, no longer exists anymore. It's been completely and utterly undone. So right now, currently, we're in the 8th cosmos. Well, right now, not only is Hadad over on the Storm side of things trying to destroy all of reality, to destroy the 8th cosmos and kickstart the 9th cosmos, Murden is also trying to do the same damn thing. It's kind of funny how that works because, to my understanding, there are multiple characters across the Marvel Universe right now that are all kind of slick trying to do the same thing. There's been a lot of that going on lately. People trying to kickstart the 9th cosmos. To the point that, we don't have the 9th cosmos yet. If you actually, look it up online, you just Google 9th cosmos Marvel, there's, a whole wiki page for it. And it's not even happened yet. That's how much this has been going on lately. But yes, that's what Murden's trying to do, and Murden reveals himself as a Kang variant, and he's trying to, kickstart the 9th cosmos. And honestly, I don't even really 100% know why he's trying to do it. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, if you reshape the multiverse, the only real reason you have to do it is to remake it in your image. We've seen the Maker do this over on the Ultimate Marvel comic side of things, where Earth 6160 is basically his version of the Ultimate Universe, that it was shaped exactly how he wanted it, down to the very last detail. What heroes existed, what heroes didn't, who worked for him, who could be trusted, who was completely cut out of everything, all of it. I would say the Maker's probably the one person who's successfully gotten away with what a lot of these other characters are trying to do lately. Either way, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get the full details on why Murden is doing all this probably within the next issue. I'd be shocked if we didn't, considering the major reveal here. And who knows, maybe we'll talk about it when it comes up. But one of the other things that actually comes up in this that I thought was really interesting, and something that I kind of speculated was probably going to happen, was the return of Hyperion. So now, the Avengers finally have their version of Superman. They technically had, I think the closest thing they had to it in terms of like power and potential were characters like Captain Marvel and Thor, who you can very easily fill that slot. But at the end of the day, Hyperion is really the one closest analog, other than Sentry, to being a Superman in the Marvel Comics universe. And I would actually say this version of Hyperion even more so than Sentry, because this version of Hyperion has almost the exact same storyline, trajectory, and everything as Clark Kent, minus going absolutely off his rocker and being evil for a fair sight of time. And even if you take this version, the Heroes Reborn version of Hyperion, out of it, even other versions of Hyperion are basically just Clark Kent with the serial numbers filed off. They have the exact same origin. They even have some of the very same or similar weaknesses and same types of character trajectory. It's just that Hyperion is usually treated as a more sardonic take on Superman, as opposed to a more hopeful take on Superman as he is in DC Comics. But it seems like after the events of, and I believe this was somewhere in and around the neighborhood of like Avengers, like number like 18, 19, maybe 20, where Hyperion was trying to fire himself like a bullet at the planet Earth to destroy it, because he literally had nothing else to live for. The world, the universe that he came from, the Heroes Reborn universe, it's gone. And he had nothing else to live for. He had no place in this new world. He couldn't find one, and he decided he was just going to destroy everything. And that didn't happen. He was actually talked off of the ledge more or less by the Impossible City, more so than anybody else. And he was sent to a world where, a universe where he could do the most good. And it kind of seemed like, yeah, he's gonna be gone for a while, but we didn't really know for how long. Honestly, I just kind of assumed that maybe they were gonna sunset the character for a while, but if he did come back, maybe he would come back as a true out-and-out good guy. And that kind of seems to be the case here, because when the Avengers go run off to face Murden and try and stop him from obtaining the missing moment, one of the things that happens, and I thought this was really cool because I think this is probably the first time in a long time, if ever, that the X-Men and the Avengers have actually been truly allies. Like, yeah, they've been allies before, but I always say ally is a very disingenuous term. An ally is performative. An ally will literally watch you get dragged off to jail. An ally will sit there, look you dead ass in your face while you are fighting for what's right. And as you are being put in handcuffs, getting your head slammed on the hood of the cop car, they will just be sitting there cheering you on from the sidelines. That's what an ally is. But in this particular case, it seems like this is probably the first true time that the X-Men and the Avengers treat each other more like accomplices. An accomplice, unlike an ally, will not sit there and watch you get your head slammed on the hood of the cop car, getting handcuffed and carted off to jail. An accomplice will also be getting their head slammed on the hood of the cop car and be sitting cell by cell with each other, if not in the same cell. And I personally feel like, yeah, this right here is the time that the Avengers actually feel like ride or die accomplices with the X-Men. And the X-Men, in turn, ride or die with the Avengers, and it's because of the mutual respect between the two. Because Cyclops and Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, have figured out that they are on the same side. And I think this is something that was largely learned from the Krakoan era, because at the end of the day, while Orchis, yes, an openly and outwardly anti-mutant organization, at the end of the day, it wasn't about mutants. They wanted mutants out of the way because some of the most powerful people in Marvel Comics are mutants. They didn't like mutants either. That's also the reason why. But the other reason was because mutants are really powerful and there's a lot of them. If you can get rid of the mutants, that only leaves the Avengers. And something very similar to what Tony Stark said when asked why the Avengers weren't helping the X-Men at the time is because at the time they were only like 7 or 8 people. They were running like 7 or 8 deep, and most of them were not even particularly powerful people. There were literal singular mutants who could solo this current Avengers roster, and really most Avengers rosters. So it wouldn't have mattered, if they were friendly or not, or helped them or not. Yes, it would have been nice, but it would not have changed much. And it was there that the Avengers realized, oh, Orchis is after all of us. When Tony Stark was investigating Orchis and dug into their files, he saw that it wasn't just mutants on the Sentinel hit list. There were Fantastic Four members. There were Avengers members, none of which were mutant at all. It was all about divide and conquer. And now, in the wake of all of that, Carol and Scott have figured out a way to become friendly, and now they ride or die for each other. But while the Avengers are away, the X-Men are holding it down for the Avengers, basically taking their place as what is effectively Earth's mightiest heroes, in the wake of Earth's mightiest heroes being off somewhere else, potentially maybe to never come back. And that is where Hyperion comes into play. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Hyperion. I like the idea of him being around. I actually hope that he hangs around. I would actually like to see him officially join the Avengers again, this time with the benefit of having learned his lesson from Heroes Reborn, and maybe move on to him being seen in a more heroic light. Because out of all of the characters that came from Heroes Reborn, only 2 of them that I'm aware of actually survived the event: Hyperion and Nighthawk. And Nighthawk actually joined the Avengers for a brief time after the events of Heroes Reborn, though we really haven't seen hide nor hair of him since. But I hope Hyperion being around might drag Nighthawk back onto the spotlight. Because, and for those who don't know, Nighthawk is probably what he sounds like. Just like how Hyperion is a sardonic take on Superman, Nighthawk is a sardonic take on Batman. So I don't know, we'll see. But if you don't know about Nighthawk, I have a video I'll try to remember to put up here somewhere. But anyway, yeah, I think this issue right here is proof positive why Jed MacKay writes things the way that he normally does. Because I feel like, yeah, when the reveal is made that Murden is just a Kang variant, I was like, okay, cool. That was actually probably one of the few times I was sad that I was so spot on the money. But honestly, I feel like everyone should have been spot on the money. I think anyone who thought this was anything other than a Kang variant, you were playing yourself. And I think this is, kind of proof positive as to why Jed MacKay often usually picks really weird deep cuts for character reveals that no one's thinking about. It's the reason why I believe he chose Varney to be the culprit behind the events of Marvel Blood Hunts, why he chose the Shroud to be the new Moon Knight during Vengeance and Moon Knight, also technically around the time of Blood Hunt, and why in other instances he's picked random characters that no one is checking for, things that, well, I mean, yeah, they kind of make sense, they're just not very good reveals. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not just, like, they're not gonna light anyone's world on fire. If anything, they're just gonna make people just kind of go like,
what? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Like, that's what they're gonna do. And I think that's maybe why he does it, because I feel like, yeah, anything else in this situation, like, this was the one time where it's like, dude, it is obvious. It is so obvious what this is. And, I mean, I'm here for it regardless. I don't think it's a bad reveal. I just don't think it's as impactful as maybe he probably would have wanted it to be. But, I mean, once again, I feel like we all knew. Yeah, I feel like we all knew. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think about it. The murder reveal, the reveal of what the missing moment is, the return of Hyperion, all that stuff, how the X-Men and the Avengers are cozy right now. Let me know what you guys think about it. Until next time, we out of here. Peace.